The Extreme Gears come from a sub-series trilogy of games that you either understand the hype behind or you don't, but you should definitely try to. From the first entry that asked too much from fresh and new adopters, to a second attempt that watered things down too much, and a third entry that seemingly killed the series for good with how far it strayed from the formula, there was hardly a chance that we see an official return of this amazing concept. Until recently. With Sonic Racing Crosswords reintroducing the Extreme Gears into the limelight, I want to take this opportunity to explore the intricacy of these boards and what we could possibly expect in the future. My name is Jiggy. If you're new here, I welcome you with open arms. Been here a while? You know where the bathroom is. Come along with me and we'll rant about one of the best racing vehicles in modern gaming. The game that started it all. If the box art wasn't enough to convince you that there'd be some high-octane speed and insane tricks to pull off, then the intro surely enough will do it for you. Examining the Extreme Gear in this game is pretty simple as they're an afterthought to the main gimmick, believe it or not. This comes soon after Sonic Heroes, and the character types from there make a return. Speed, fly, and power are all tied to the usual suspects, with the newly introduced Babylon Rogues mirroring that of Team Sonic. Every character here will only be allowed on their specific path no matter what gear they have equipped, unless otherwise noted by the gear's description. There is at least one pair of skates, one bike, and one board that will give access to any shortcut with any character you wish, no matter the type originally associated with the character in question. On the flip side of that, some gears also offer free use of 2 and even all 3 types of shortcuts, but typically have some drawbacks to their stats to counteract this. Getting into the design side of things though, all of the vehicles in this game look flimsy. With the exception of most bikes being as bulky as they are, a concept that has some merit to it as it happens, the boards, skates, and a few bikes look like no more than paperweights. This is by design. Spoiler alert, but the speed of the first Riders game is never matched again in any subsequent releases. In Zero Gravity and Free Riders, you'll have sections that progress you forward in a manner to ensure that it appears you're going fast, but those areas are relegated to intentional map design and story relevance. For the original Riders, however, every bit of speed that you gather is a result of your own skill. The philosophy behind the first game places an emphasis on technical knowledge of the base mechanics, with the type shortcuts acting more as a means to get back into the race should you find yourself falling behind. That's actually why you'll see a bunch of these type shortcuts in close proximity to one another. Very rarely do they give some huge advantage. If we're looking at this in a more scientific matter very quickly, the lighter a vehicle is, the quicker it's able to move and the tighter turns it's able to take. In a racing game that's all about style and speed, you'd of course want to find the perfect middle ground for peak racing performance. There being quite a few possible combinations of characters and boards to experiment with open the door to crafting the best racing experience for the individual player as well. I may like Tails with a gear that can both grind and fly, while still having decent turning stats. You, on the other hand, may insist that Jet the Hawk with a power bike that puts boosting at the forefront is the true way to go though. Considering how fast the OG Riders is, moreover leans to how the type-specific shortcuts works too, with Fly being the biggest adopter of this concept. To give some context, with the exception of the Babylon Rogues, Eggman is the person who created most of the Extreme Gears that we ride on. Tails happened to modify Team Sonic's boards, but as far as the base operations, every board is designed similarly. In story, as this is the earliest iteration of the Extreme Gear tech, there are limitations found within the Fly-type characters' boards specifically. Most of the shortcuts that involve this type are short and consist of anywhere from 2 to 4 boost rings to take you from start to finish, usually accessing a higher portion of the track or over a quick roundabout. When the speed and power type shortcuts are about the same length though, there isn't a problem, but this shows an oversight in the creation process. A single exhaust turbine or propeller can only output so much power in order to propel a vehicle forward. The amount of energy necessary to travel long distances is in no way feasible with the current capabilities of flight type boards in this game, hence why the shortcuts for these characters or gear granting types can feel like they're over very quickly. If only there was a bit more to them. This kind of thing can be a monkey's paw though, so be careful what you wish for. The heaviest of Riders games that can't be attributed to forced user error, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity is where we begin to see a lot of folks switching up on the series, and rightfully so if I'm being objective here. Numerous changes are introduced and mechanics have either been taken away, reassigned, or had their usage stripped completely down. Drifting is no longer something that you have the ability to do innately, and in its place is the gravity control gimmick. A press button to do the thing mechanic that can be used to cut sharp corners, and there's a lot of them in this game. You'll need to become familiar with this move very quickly in Zero Gravity, as the vehicles in this entry turn about as well as a 17th century cottage wheel. All of the extreme gear are much bulkier in comparison to the previous entry, and I think that the cosmetic design choice fits well with the narrative of the game quite nicely. As the name implies, you'll be controlling gravity throughout your time here, and the idea of needing a heavier machine to withstand the force of gravity is genius. Should these vehicles have been the paperweight of the OG Riders, there's a cartoonishly high chance that they'd snap from the pressure. Now, of course, I'm speaking in the context of real-world scenarios, but the creative team behind these were most likely of the same mind. Everything here has a distinctive heftiness and alien look to them. Ironic, once again, given the premise of the game. 3 new gear types enter the fray: the air ride, yacht, and wheel, but just imagine these as 2 fly types and a new power type vehicle to bring the total number of options we have to the following: 2 speed types represented by the basic boards and skates, 2 fly types represented by the air ride and yachts, and 2 power types represented by the bikes and wheels. Character type specified routes are a thing of the past, and we've entered the era of every character having access to every gear and or every shortcut. You can make it so Sonic punches through walls, Knuckles flies through boost rings, and Tails grinds like this is Rail Canyon. It's not too different from OG Riders, but things are more streamlined now since in that game, not every character had access to every board you could buy. Although the customization aspect of Zero Gravity is good, the ball gets dropped very quickly. The price of entry for all of these is rings that must be used before the shortcuts can be activated, meaning that if you see a grind rail right after leaving the start line, you must wait until the next lap to utilize it. This is poor gameplay design, but there's a reason for it. Unlike Riders, many a shortcut in Zero Gravity offer quite the lead if used correctly by the player. Sometimes it is more beneficial to take a flight-capable gear in one map and a grind-capable gear in another, which is a possible reason behind the cost of activating these traits being a generous 60 rings. This practice takes 1/3 of the fun these games offered away for an arbitrary system. You can't give the players double and triple the amount of new things they had in the previous entry and then lock it behind an in-game pay system. Granted, rings are everywhere in this game, and if you're playing with a skilled enough player, then you may very well have them snatched from right under your nose in a close race. Tackling the design again, however, the focus is yet again on the fly type category. This will be the case for free riders as well, since these gears are the most intricate and upon further research do offer the most to look at functionally, but I digress. The air ride and yacht gears pay homage to real-world flight concepts as well. Completely fixing the previous entry's issue of one booster, you now have twin exhausts that boast the ability to go further. At least further in a sense of area covered a la Sonic racing game. With boost rings that are more spread out between each other as well, you really get a sense that this vehicle is here to take you the distance. The same is true for the yacht extreme gear that takes inspiration from windsurf boards, but where these differ is that you can now once again ride the slipstream of other players who are ahead of you. Why they took away a feature that was universal before and put it on a dedicated board is a question that's lost to time. Think of the yacht as a faster version of the air ride though. Only 1 point of resistance right down the middle instead of the air ride's 3 points on the left, right, and center. It's a nice contrast, but from a personal standpoint, I much prefer the crescent shape of the air rides since they remind me of those motorbike arcade machines. So if OG Riders limits the players to character-specific shortcuts and Zero Gravity gets rid of that limit, but then locks the access behind in-game paywalls, where does the perfect in-between lie? Well, it's in a place that no one expected, of course. We can ignore everything about this game, except the fact that it has some of my favorite mechanics out of all 3 Riders games, and I know that may seem blasphemous, but I need everyone to hear me out real quick. Imagine the concept from OG Riders where there are gears that can access 2 types of shortcuts. Now, mix that with the ability to unlock extra speed and resource perks from Zero Gravity without needing to pay for it. And now you have Free Rider's Pick 2 gear part system. The ability to choose if you want the power to grind and bash through walls, fly and consume less air with every boost, or even the chance to avoid all attacks and have the main themes from the previous Riders games play as you tear through the track. There's a decent amount of gear parts you can attach, and this will really make or break your build. Free Riders is a Sonic Riders game though, in case it wasn't obvious. I know it's kinda hard to tell. So most people are going to choose at least one of the typical type parts to gain access to their shortcuts as they please. Aside from how the change to this entry being a connect game makes these abilities work, or not in some cases, the fly type is once again the only one worth taking an in-depth look at, since the grind and power routes aren't as involved on a technical level. The fly gear part attaches twin wings with turbines to your extreme gear, and once you get to a ramp, your character assumes a T-pose stance that can be adjusted based on the needs of your altitude. Do you need a quick dive? Put your arms down to your side. Gotta get some height for that next boost ring? Put those arms back into a T shape. I love how with each iteration of the fly type shortcuts, they've consistently made subtle nods to how aircrafts work in real life. From a lackluster and single exhaust pipe design, to a crescent-shaped vehicle with better real-life adjacent aerodynamics, and finally landing upon a fire twin turbo design that fully has you acting as the drag coefficient. Now, it's come to my attention that Sonic Team hasn't fully forgotten what this game attempted to do either. The whole premise of Sonic Racing Cross Worlds is going back to being able to traverse land, sea, and air. This time, however, they're foregoing the All-Stars Transformed approach and instead having the appropriate boosters or flotation devices attached to your vehicles, much like how they did in Free Riders. With Extreme Gear officially making a comeback with this upcoming game, I can only hope it's a sign of the Riders series return at some point in the future. That will all probably depend on how well Cross Worlds sells though, so please buy it when the game releases, I'm begging. And I appreciate everyone for watching, and in the meantime, get out there, play some Sonic Riders for me, okay? I'll catch you all later.